Jesus told a parable in Matthew chapter 18 about a king who wanted to settle his accounts. And he called his servants in. And one servant came in who owed him millions of dollars in debt. He said, I'm going to throw you into prison until you pay that debt. And the servant gets down on his knees and says, please be patient with me, and I'll pay the whole thing back. The king has mercy on that servant. He cancels the guy's debt and lets him go free. The servant walks out of the palace. He sees a fellow servant walking down the road. He says, you owe me a few dollar debt. Pay now. Technically, you owe me. And his fellow servant got down and said, please be patient with me. I'll pay it all back. And the first servant says, no, you owe me, pay now, or you go to prison. He couldn't pay, so the servant threw his fellow servant into prison. Well, some other servants saw this transaction. They ran to the king and they said, oh, king, you know the servant whose $1 million debt you canceled? Well, he just threw a guy in prison for a few dollar debt. The king was outraged. He called the servant back in. He said, let me get this straight. I canceled millions of dollars of debt of yours, and you just threw a guy in prison for a few dollars debt? And the king was outraged. He said, throw this servant into prison. And then Jesus says some of the most scary words in the New Testament. He says, this is how my Father will treat you unless you forgive your brother, your sister from your heart.